Welcome to Juice Break, your pause for real conversations that move you, fuel you, and feel good.
It's really through staying curious and connecting with community that like everyone is a tiny pawn like in your game of your life and like giving you clues in what it is that you should do. Oftentimes I love to tell people like self-awareness isn't great news. Sometimes you have to face that you maybe were doing things for the wrong reasons, and that's not to be shameful.
What is it that you're seeking right now in life? Today's guest is one of my favorite people to move, dream, and create with, Sydney Berger. She's a dancer turned yoga guide, holistic hype woman, and founder of Welera World, a space where wellness meets magic. Her mission, make wellness feel alive, joyful, and anything but restrictive. Sydney has led hundreds of classes, hosted retreats, and events that unite people through movement, play, and connection. In this episode, we talk about the feel-good habits that keep her grounded, her anything is possible mentality, what she's currently seeking, and the magic she creates when guiding others in movement. This one's full of energy, wisdom, and joy, just like Sydney. Let's get into it.
I'm already hyped up. I'm feeling great about being here.
Well, today's a really special day for you.
Because it's Wellness Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Thank you for understanding. Thank you for knowing that.
That is like why I wanted you to be on the podcast today, because you have this ritual around Wellness Wednesday that you have created a movement behind on your social media. What does Wellness Wednesday mean to you?
There are no rules on Wellness Wednesday. It's just you being filled with joy and being happy and whatever that means, but making sure that there is like a blip of your day that is solely for you and not for anybody else.
Balance is very key in your life. What is living well then to you today?
Today, it was different because I taught at 7 a.m. So this morning I made sure that I woke up with enough time to do my practices. I was just sharing with a friend before this that I got a new sadhana practice from my teacher, which sadhana just means a morning routine. It's a very specific set of breath work, meditation, chanting. Then I taught a really amazing sculpt and breathwork class. The energy was just so good, and I'm really grateful for that community that I get to teach. And then I went home and I ate breakfast and I laid on the couch and I posted about it on social media.
You also recently came back from Costa Rica, and you were telling me recently how you are dedicating this chapter of your life to being a spiritual athlete. When you talk about balance and you talk about this spiritual athlete kind of mentality, athletes, they take their life very seriously. Something that I admire about you is just your routines, your rituals, the habits that you create. So when you came back, I was like, what possibly more could she be like adding on to her routine, and what new habits is she instilling as a spiritual athlete? Walk me through just that whole recollection of like, I'm coming back and this is what I want to do with my life. And then what does that look like? Do you have a regimen that you're sticking to?
Yeah, I think it really started because there was a realization we had. The retreat specifically was called Earth Mystery School, and the whole point of the school is to bring people back to their true spiritual nature, and that we all are spiritual beings. And so sometimes, as I would also identify as a spiritual girly pop, we can get almost too ethereal. We can get like lost in the sauce of just wanting to sit and manifest and meditate all day. And so me and my teacher were just talking about the fact that like we have to take this seriously. This isn't just stuff where we get to mess around and be like, yeah, I want to make people feel happy, or I want to make people feel well, but the earth wants you to be well first. And so to really understand that, like, that's the job. That's the real job before any of my other vocations, careers, anything comes, is I have to actually physically embodied wisdom within myself of what it means to be well. And I recently was diagnosed with ADHD from another spiritual girly pop, and we decided to call her Glitter Bitch. And my Glitter Bitch would be like, no, I want to do this wellness routine now, I want to do this. And there was no sense of actual structure. And I think there's something really freeing in structure. And I think if you see it from, this has to be like this is hard, this is that, then it feels that way and it makes you feel like stuck or small. But when you see structure as it's the things you actually need to be free and flow, and that's what I need, because otherwise Glitter Bitch has the keys to the car and she's running around all day doing all these things with energy leaks, and all of my teachings, my work gets diluted in the fact that I'm diluted in me. So the routine now looks like we start work at 9. Before that, you get to be flexible with when I want to wake up. But Wake up, some type of morning movement in the morning, some type of meditation, some type of breath work, journaling, reading. Then you can get to work, go to the locked in factory, live your best life as much as you want through the day. I'm personally a person who likes to like go, go, go. I don't think I do well with like little pauses, but if you wanted to add a little pause, you could. And then you are clocked out 8 o'clock the latest. Like, get off your phone, do absolutely nothing on social media. And I'm currently trying to learn Spanish, which is really exciting because I also loved Costa Rica and big into, respecting where it is you want to travel to and be often. So Spanish lessons at nighttime, and a nighttime reading.
Love that routine.
Thanks.
Love that routine. If you had to pick one of those habits that are like a non-negotiable for you, let's say everything else is going away, what's a non-negotiable, like happy human habit that you would take with you till the day you die?
It would be movement. Truly. I think moving is the most important thing you can do for your life, because I would then also put meditation under the umbrella of movement, and like movement can be a meditation, at least for me, and I know for so many other people and my students. And there's something about the energy that you create by moving your body that then fuels the rest of your day. So without movement, I feel like everything else is kind of just, again, you're back in that stagnant, stuck, just like apathetic sensation.
You talk about being very structured and very rigid in those practices, and like these are non-negotiables for you to wake up and respond to. Do you still allow for flow in your day? When you talk about frictionless living, where does that come into play, and are you still playing? Yeah.
Always playing. Play tattoo. And frictionless living was something I actually got from you, and it's something I'm really inspired by you. I don't know, whoever knows Hannah personally knows, like, she has this brilliant way of just letting things roll right off your back. Like, there is nothing that you get stuck in the eddy or loop in. It is just like, yeah, this happened. Okay, what's next? And you don't have expectations. And so when I think of allowing play into my life, it just looks like, wanting the structure and creating the structure for myself to succeed. But if I get a random call and like that throws off my routine, I don't then get stuck in the pattern, in the loop of like, I didn't have time to do that. Because then at that point, like, the structure is no longer helpful for you if you're so attached to it. The whole point of anything when it comes to whatever spiritual practice you practice is about setting yourself free. And so if at any point the practices that are designed to set you free are actually keeping you stuck in some way and in some stress, then there's absolutely no point in you doing them at all. So I will allow for it, and I will, in my own structure, type A Capricorn energy, like, will sometimes allow myself to get stressed or upset or like super rigid. And then I know those are actually the moments that you have to play more to loosen all of that up.
I'm curious, if someone was feeling disconnected from their own mission, their routines, their rituals, they're just, caught up in the loops of life, what would be a piece of advice that you would want to share with them, or what would you tell them?
I think I would ask them what they're passionate about and what it is, like, when's the last time they feel like they really truly felt joy or freedom. And that could be in anything, because I think we get so caught up in our purpose being our job or work, and that's just really not the point. Like, your purpose could be baking meals for like all of your friends, and you don't make any money off of that, but like, that's something that lights you up. And I do have this deep seated belief that everybody comes here with a gift, with a mission, with a purpose that they get to, if they want to, find in this lifetime. I think it's a really beautiful thing to understand, like, do something from passion first, rather than constantly seeking the things that, like, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Because then we get grabby and we don't really understand that you don't actually need meditation. You don't need breath work. You don't need yoga to find any of these things. Life is literally designed to be a living school, a classroom. And so just go outside and like try something. Go see what posters posted outside your house. If you live in LA, there's thousands of events happening every day. And if you don't know where to start or how to find your community, or like, just start. just go to those things. I was like, when I first started getting into wellness and spirituality, I had like no friends. I was like crying to my boyfriend at the time, being like, I don't know what to do with myself. And then I went to Plunge Club when it first started, and I met now, yeah, like 4 of my very, very best friends at that very first event, but I like went alone, and I was just so nervous going into it. And I remember being like, this is so weird. Like everybody here, pretty much everyone was like with someone else. And then my best friend Gabby was there, and I was like, are you alone? And she's like, yeah. And even she tells me, she's like, yeah, I thought you were fucking weird. Like, but then we became best friends. And like through that, through conversations with her, and she would share with me people she was working with and things she saw people doing. And she's like, maybe you should try this. And then I tried that, and I started hosting free events, and she came up with a name for it. And so it's really through staying curious and connecting with community that like everyone is a tiny pawn like in your game of your life in and like giving you clues in what it is that you should do.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I will book something even though I'm scared. Like I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to book it, and once I've like paid for something or I've invested my energy into it, and I've said out loud like I'm going to this class or I booked this thing, and then I feel like I have to do it. Where it's like sometimes the past me does stuff or future me. And I don't know if you can relate to that, where it's just like the do it scared mentality, and it's like I'm just going to do it anyway because I know what's on the other end of it is going to make me feel good. Even if I don't want to do it right now and I sign up for the class. I'm like, oh, I booked a boxing class for next Thursday. I told the instructor I'm going. I have to go now.
Yeah. I think you're a really good example of that because I don't know, would you say that Hannah a year ago would think that you'd be sitting in LA right now doing any of this?
I had no idea where I was going to land a year ago, for sure. You know, I just embarked on my solo nomadic journey of travel. Definitely did not think I would be starting a podcast, that's for sure. But I really, yeah, I've always thrived on the mentality of finding your uncomfort zone, you know, which I think you do a really good job of. Like you talk about these routines, and it just makes me think of like you're always reaching for more. You're always curious. You have this ability to make these big things feel possible, that anything is possible mentality, where you're like, yeah, we can have anything we want. You say that so frequently. That's like part of your own like internal mantra.
Yeah.
When did that start for you? Like, do you think when you were like 11 years old, like this was always part of just Sydney, or was there a specific role model or like thing that you were doing that really just showed you like, oh, I can do anything?
Yeah, well, it definitely starts with my mom. Like, I literally even hear her in my mind right now. Like, she'd always say, since I was probably fresh out the womb, like, you can do anything you put your mind to. And that's, like, a mantra that she lives by. And that's what she's always told me. And, like, my whole family was in support of that my whole life. And I think every accomplishment I ever made was celebrated to the extreme. Like when I got a good score on the NJS, which is like our statewide exam, I had like a cake with my face on it. Like my family's so extra. But like in that, I think that version of me before I even got that score on the exam would have been like, no, I'm really bad at math. But then I was like, oh no, I'm actually good at math. Like just because I thought I was good at it. And then my dance teacher, Miss Kim, like very first dance teacher, and Miss Erin, they were very structured. Like every single day after school, I danced 6 days a week. And for 5 of those days, it was for like 4 hours after school. So I'd have to be structured. Like I'd come home and I'd do my homework and I'd eat, and then I'd go to dance, and I wouldn't get home till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and then I'd eat and then go to sleep and go to school and do it all again the next day. And I think through that, like before I started dancing, I was not a good dancer. Like I have some amazing dancer friends who I'm like, no, you were born to do this. And I say this actually, I think with a lot of the skills in my life, I've met people who I'm like, you're born to do this, right? Like they're naturally gifted. But so many of the things that I do now, I don't think came naturally to me at all. I think it came through hours and hours of work and putting in the reps and doing it. And then seeing over time, I think dance is a beautiful example, especially in ballet or in things where you're doing the technique, because you like start from doing a single pirouette and figuring out how to do that and falling on your face every time to just like, oh no, I go to class twice a week for a whole entire year, and by the end I'm doing it. So I think it just programmed that neural pathway in my brain to show me, like, I have receipts of, oh, if you do this over and over and over again and you really care about it and it matters to you, then yeah, you can do anything. And I just also don't think there's I mean, this is like a huge blanket statement, but it's very rare, I feel like, for anyone to put everything they have into something and like actually be dedicated. I've never met anyone who was like, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to give up until I get it. That never got it. Right? That like died with regret. They either pivoted because they realized that was actually the thing they didn't end up wanting to do. But it's very like, I would love to find someone who was like, no, I actually gave this thing my all and I never achieved it. And like maybe that was their journey on this earth in this lifetime. However, I've never met anyone who's done that. So I think my brain is just hardwired to believe that you actually can do whatever you want.
I love that mentality. And I think that's a gift to be able to even think that, because it's so optimistic to believe that, where we live in a world where our brain and our subconscious tries to protect us from like, oh no, like don't do that. Like you're not going to be good at it. And like you might not be at the very start. But like you said, if you dedicate the actual desire that you have to doing it again and again and again and get your reps in, you will get better. It's inevitable.
Completely. I tell people in my class all the time, I'm like, if you can get over the fear of like being seen trying, you could actually do anything in the whole world. Because what stops people is that like, it's not just you having to fail for yourself, but especially now when we live in a world where it feels like everyone is seeing the things that you're doing, you actually putting the things you want to do out there and say like, hey, I'm starting this business, I'm launching this app, I'm starting a podcast, is then actually holding you responsible for doing it, because now you have expectations, even though the truth is everyone's thinking about themselves in the best way. Like nobody's going to bed at night thinking about the thing you posted on Instagram. Like it's just not. And so I think coming back to the idea that like, if you get past the fear of judgment, of expectation, of failure, that's where you get unblocked, because nothing matters. You get to make it up as you go.
Yeah, no, that makes me think of your thought that you've shared about being embarrassed. And like it was on a post that you made about like things you're not doing, and it's like being embarrassed. How did that start for you? Because everyone has that. Everyone has that like internal stage fright of being seen in certain lights, whether that's on stage as a dancer for the first time, when you're around people that are maybe more skilled than you at the very beginning, or it's you stepping up and speaking on stage. It's you maybe teaching your first yoga class. Did you experience stage fright or that internal feeling of like, oh my God, people are watching me. Like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, I definitely did. And then like the memory of when I was 12, my second time ever on stage, and something like everybody in like dance show business knows is like, you don't go out like off stage no matter what happens. Like you finish the performance. And my top, it was like a halter top, and it popped off like in the middle of the dance. And you're in front of a like literally people have nightmares about this. It popped off in front of a whole stadium of people and judges who are like watching you like hawks. And I did the whole dance like this, holding my top up, and I'm sure it slipped a couple of times. I was 12, but that's like a moment where I feel like, again, you put in the reps to see like, oh, I was embarrassed, I was scared, and like what happened after? Nothing. Like actually I feel like that dance won, or I got some special award, because they have special ribbons always at dance competitions. And then I think I carried it into my adult life when I really started getting into entrepreneurship, and I was doing a lot of research on female entrepreneurs, and I'm pretty sure her name's Sarah Barkley, who started Spanx, and that's like one of her pillars of entrepreneurship is like purposefully be embarrassed. And I just remember reading or listening to podcasts about her like purposely standing backwards in elevators and just doing things that felt super uncomfortable. And I feel like you've shared with me your experience with sales and going around, and like that makes someone like unfuckable with. Like there's nothing that's going to get in your way, because you've done the thing that is like our primal brain is telling you, right? It's a very real feeling, because our reptilian brain is like, we can't survive without our tribe. And so that feeling of embarrassment is actually just your subconscious being like, if I get shunned from the group, I'm no longer going to be able to survive. We don't live in that world anymore. Someone can actually stay inside their house, never walk outside, and still live an entire life. Wouldn't be a fulfilling, amazing life, but like you can get DoorDash right to your door. You can get everything you need within the walls of your own home, and that's not how we were. And our brain hasn't actually developed to that new version of the human that we're living. So I think when you allow yourself to just be embarrassed and then realize that nothing happens after, you still have friends, like you still have people that love you, it's all going to be okay. again, like the neurons that fire together wire together. So then you just are like, yeah, I don't really give a fuck if I'm embarrassed or not, because what's going to happen? Nothing.
When you taught your first yoga class, which I'm curious to even go back a little bit on, like when you realized that I want to make a pivot from dance, because you were talking about pivots earlier and knowing when something isn't for you anymore. However, dance is still very much part of who you are. When was that pivot for you to go from dance to yoga?
I'd say the official pivot was like in 2022. Through dance, I had found yoga at a very early age. My dance teacher made us start doing it so we wouldn't get injured. And I just started doing it again weekly, putting in the reps all the time. And through that, I was realizing just a shift in the way that I would show up in the world. And like my friends would be like, why do you think like this? Why are you acting like, and I realized it was because I was doing yoga every week. So that was something, it was already like in my field. However, I was so hyper fixated on, I need to be a dancer, I need to be an actress. And so it was the only thing I knew really well. So I moved to LA to do that. And then I was in the process of making my actor's website. And while I was doing that, one day my computer just completely died. Like nothing happened to it. I'd set a date that I was like, these 3 days I'm locking in, I'm getting this done because I've been putting it off. And when I had that moment to actually pause, I asked myself, like, am I not doing this because I'm afraid of succeeding? Or am I not doing this because I just genuinely don't want to? And that came at the perfect time because there's no coincidences. I had signed up for I really just wanted to go on a yoga retreat. I was not interested in getting a certificate and teaching, like nothing. And I was going, so I had committed to then those next 21 days sitting in the contemplation and the study of what is it I want to do? Like, who is it that I am? And a lot of people find spirituality that way because I think what spirituality really asks of us is to understand that, like, you are none of those things. Like, right now I am a yoga teacher and I am playing this role of Sydney and I'm here in this lifetime. But truly, when you get connected with, like, the core of your being and you allow yourself to sit in that infinite just bubble of reality, of your own reality, you realize that you could and be and do anything. And so when I felt that, I was like, oh, I think everyone else needs to feel this feeling. And that's why I always say, people are like, everyone's talking about breath work, everyone's talking about meditation, because when people do it, they're like, holy shit, I've never felt this good in my entire life. And when you experience something, when you can speak from experience, all you want to do is share it. So at the end of not even at the end, she had us teach our first class, and my teacher Sonia is the best, but I remember like none of us had even taught a singular yoga class in our whole life. And after 5 days of just being there, she was like, okay, you're going to teach a 45-minute class now. And we were all freaking out. Like I was like sweating, and you're in a room of 12 people. Again, like the stakes are so low, but your brain decides that it's so high. So we had taught our first class, and she always said, like, the fear is always going to be there, do it anyway. And that's like the kind of do it scared mentality. And so I remember preparing for it the night before, and we were in the shower, and I just had my headphones on, and through my dance background, because everything matters, like everything you do is just leading you to do the next thing even better. And I truly believe that. I was kind of flowing through the sequence, and I just started like crying because I just remembered what it was like to like actually feel at home in your body and feel at home with what it is you truly wanted to be doing. And I just knew like I couldn't look back. Like I saw something that I couldn't unsee, and I felt something I couldn't unfeel. And I talked to my teacher the next day, and because I had originally come with the intention of like not wanting to be a teacher. And again, I think it's important that we allow others to witness us in the things that we want, so that they could support you in getting there. Because yeah, you can do it alone, but why the fuck would you want to? So I just expressed to her, like, I think I actually want to take this seriously and become a teacher. And so if there's any notes, anything you would give me, also, like, I had hardcore teachers who would tell you, like, what was wrong, what you could do better. And I think feedback is the best thing in the world. And so, yeah, then I pivoted and I just came back to LA and I started teaching. And I'm also a believer, when you are on a path that is supportive for you in this moment, it doesn't have to be forever. Doors will open. And I had amazing people in my life just come through with opportunities for me to start teaching right away. And I was teaching to like 2 students 4 times a week for 6 months. Like, it wasn't something where I was like, I came back and I know I'm amazing at this because all these students. No, like, I had no students when I first started. But through doing something over and over and over again in a very low stake environment, I was able to hone in on my own practices and like go take from teachers that I was inspired by. And I would always be so creepy, like taking notes in the back of their class and like studying what it is that people loved about them. Because if ultimately whatever you're doing, I think deserves to be treated seriously and like an art, and everything's an art, whether you are creating a brand or having a podcast or literally making dinner for a person that you love, like it's all a piece of artwork and we get to just like play in it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Momentum is so important too. Like coming back from it, getting just your reps in right away versus like stopping, not doing anything with it after you got back from those few weeks in Costa Rica at yoga teacher training. If you would have done nothing, that block coming back, that thought of like, oh, should I really do this? And just those fears come in and they creep in so easily, where getting into it right away, whatever the practices that you're doing, I think is so important to just like keep the momentum, build the snowman. Like once you started doing it, like for me, when I was doing sales and going door to door, instantly translating that to then being this CEO of my like random school project. And then through that, I'm like, okay, great. Now I'm signing up for a pitch competition. It's like, you just have to keep the momentum of whatever it is that you're passionate about and you know that feels aligned in that moment. Because like you said, it might not be forever, but like, I'm just going to be curious about whatever it is now and lean into it, get my reps in. And I think it's also important, like you said, to have that support system around you and know that people that have done what you want to do want to see you succeed. They want to help you. They want to give you feedback. You just have to be open to asking for it. Like mentorship is right around the corner if you just ask the person that you want to be like. Yeah. So I really love what you shared there. And going back to like being a lifelong learner, because you ultimately had this spark of, I think I want to go to do this yoga teacher training. I don't even want to be a yoga teacher, but I just want to go do this thing. You're always seeking something. What is it that you're seeking right now in life?
I think I'm seeking what it means to steward a mission in a mature way, if that makes sense. I think that especially being in LA, I had to get really real with myself in the last retreat that I went to and asking like why I was behaving the way I was and why I was wanting the things that I was wanting. And oftentimes I love to tell people like self-awareness isn't great news. Sometimes you have to face that you maybe were doing things for the wrong reasons, and that's not to be shameful and what it was, but to just acknowledge like what is the intention behind the action, because oftentimes like our intentions and our actions don't come together. They're like become two separate entities when they should be one fluid motion. But it's the most natural thing in the world to be human and to get caught up in the hustle culture. And so I think for a moment I was wanting expansion for the sake of expansion versus expansion for the sake of service and what it actually means to be in service, because there's so many people doing what I'm doing who I even had to have mentors. And then when I work with them and you kind of see like the behind the scenes of what their life is actually like, I was like, oh, like this version of them is not matching up with the reality of who they are. And so I know that there's a mission and things that I want to bring out into this world, but I really want to do it in a way that is in service and not for self-seeking validation or for money or for all of these things that I know when I started this journey were not the reason that I was doing it. But it's very, very easy to get caught up in just the culture of wanting more. We're humans and this world is built on more, and bigger is better and being bigger is better and all of it. And I'm really in the study of what it's like to have embodied wisdom and not just wisdom that I can regurgitate because I've had amazing mentors and I've had amazing allies and teachers and friends, but how can I live in a way that is truly in integrity to the work that I'm doing?
I think you do a really good job of showing up exactly as you are in every space that you're in. Like you are a just body of light as soon as you enter a room. When I've gone to any of your classes, when I've just been able to witness other people express the vibe that you create when you lead a movement or a dance session, a corporate retreat, like it isn't just movement. There is so much magic in that, which goes into your business, Welera World, and the slogan where wellness meets magic. For someone who's never been to one of your classes, What does that actually look and feel like? And maybe it's hard for you to explain versus
Right.
other
I
people, but
know.
I'm curious, like, is there like, yeah, what is that to you when you think of that phrase? Where did that come from for you? About
Yeah,
you?
I know. I would love to know your perspective because I always, when people tell me, I'm like, oh, I'm glad that's what it's like for you because I have no idea. I want people to feel like it is a roadmap and I'm like creating, it's like Candyland. Like you choose your own adventure. And so there might be breath work, but everything in my class gets to be an invitation, something I've learned in my own practices and something that I was really butting heads with when I first became a part of the wellness community was this, honestly, the idea of structure, which is funny. It goes back to that, but like everyone offering that there was these 5 step to happiness or like follow my 30-minute exercise and like no, like everybody's own body has a very specific blueprint for their life and that's why like very like teachers with a wide variety of knowledge are really important because you can't be so pigeonholed and like this is going to be the thing that works for you. And so I think what people can expect are just blimps and like blobs of different modalities all into one. Like, yeah, you might be suddenly dancing in a yoga class and you might be like going into a full breathwork session. And I think where I teach now is nice because we have a lot of combined classes where you get a bit of each. But the way that yoga was originally created was an 8-step process that included all of those things: meditation, breathwork, movement, study, like all of it. And we've kind of, you know, to simplify it, I think for Western culture, we're like, nope, it's just going to be the movement or it's just going to be the breath work. And I've really found that dancing between all of those things create this really exciting and fun and approachable room that just makes you feel more alive when you walk out of the class. And that's my only goal. I'm just like, I hope you have fun and like nothing matters. Yeah.
So Welera World, I wanted to dive into like parts of like what you do for companies because people get to experience this and you know get to move with you and feel good in their bodies and have fun and play and connect. And you've also done things for companies where you've helped facilitate retreats with them. You've done one-off events with them. I'm curious just your take on the importance of companies having an emphasis on that for their employees.
Sometimes wellness and mindfulness kind of becomes a box for like the tops or the CEOs to just like check off for their employees. But what's actually happened, I think, in the realm of where things have led and working from home and everybody starting their own business is it's really hard to like retain employees and to have employees that are really like heroes for your mission and your company and ultimately like to come back to the fact that like this is your dream that you're wanting to bring into the world and you can't do it alone. And so how do we keep people happy within the constraints and container that you've created for them? And so that's something I wanted to hone in on giving their employees practices and also a space to come to, because some companies will be like, oh, you're now the mindfulness person and everybody's coming to you, or, you know, the assistant can plan the retreat, but the assistant can't plan the retreat. The assistant should be participating in the retreat. And so what I really am interested in doing is these immersive experiences for companies to go off site and to not have to worry about a thing, and it's full service and I can facilitate all the things. I can call in other facilitators and create something that has lasting change, because I've talked to a lot of, like, luckily in LA we have a lot of friends who own companies and work for companies, and you know, they talk about these offsites and spending tens and thousands of dollars on these people, and when I ask them like, oh, what are you taking away from it, the answer is oftentimes nothing, because people get really good at one thing and they forget what it's like to actually create a transformative experience that creates lasting change in people. And so whether it is a one-off, like when I remember I went into Netflix and did like a one-off sound bath with them, but then through that, these people now have takeaway practices that they can do sitting at their desk. And we talk about that in these one-off experiences. So it's not just a one-off experience. It's not just something you come in and do once and feel good, but how are we getting people who don't have these practices all the time? Because oftentimes, yeah, you'll probably feel amazing after your first breathwork session, but it's really easy to forget that feeling once time passes, and then you're just back in the loop of what you were doing the day before. If I had my perfect retreat, it would have every single modality that I teach. And then on top of that comes in the personalization process of what is the actual purpose of this, because then each modality gets to be tailored to what it is someone's hoping to feel or what the intention is. And so ultimately each retreat in itself, whether it's for a corporation or for myself, has its own theme and own intention. But if there's something that that just doesn't make sense to do, I'm not stuck to like having to practice it because it's just a part of my practices.
Okay. We're going to go into our rapid fire section.
Okay.
Pour or pass. Buckle up.
Buckled in. Locked in.
I'm going to name just a trend or an idea, and you're going to tell me if you're pouring it or if you're passing on it.
Okay.
Hot yoga.
Pass.
Group breathwork.
Pass.
Being barefoot in the city.
Pass. Well, actually, I know. I'm saying pass, but I actually am barefoot all the time. They're laughing at me. That was a lie. I have to go back on that. I didn't mean it. I am barefoot all the time. It's fine.
Fasting.
Pass.
Meditation apps.
Pour.
Daily sweet treats.
Pour. Major pour.
Ranch on pizza.
Pass. Hard pass.
Corporate wellness retreats.
Pour.
Hannah Montana.
Pour.
Rest days.
I'm like so in the middle. Yeah, I think I need to rest more. So pour. Yeah.
Having an emotional attachment to a tree.
Pour. Major pour. Major pour. Change your life.
Manifestation rituals.
Pour. Pour. I only say that because I think we get so caught up in manifesting and like it's just not the point. Like what I have gotten so caught up in manifesting, and over the last like 2 months I've realized that actually like none of this is our choice. And so the best thing you can do is get really good at not caring and accepting what life is actually just showing you and being grateful for that, and then stepping into more of that rather than getting caught up in this idea of how things need to be. Because if we are magical beings and you can manifest anything you want. But many times when I've actually manifested the thing that I wanted, it wasn't actually the thing that I needed at the moment in the time. So yeah, just like stop fucking manifesting and live your life and let the universe show you what you need. So pass.
Solo travel.
Pour.
Health trackers.
Pass.
Dance as cardio.
Oh, pour.
To close things up, we always end with a little juice drop.
Love.
So a little wisdom, little mantra, little intention that you want to leave either yourself with or the audience with. But what is something that you want to share?
Something I heard recently about finding your purpose is taking your passion and then deciding how it could be in service of others. And through that discovery of how can I do something I love in service of others, it actually becomes your purpose. And we get so caught up in our minds of like, this has to be forever and this is our thing. But to think of everything as an experiment, that life is a living lab and we just get to like, see what happens if I do this, and let's see what happens if I go there and talk to that person and find that out. And so if you want to start something, just to start it. And maybe that was like 12 juice drops in one, but that's it.
There's your juice drop.
Thank you.
Sydney, thank you for being here. Thank you for yapping with me. Everything about you is just the epitome of what bringing the juice is. 1% better. You really are a walking version of our core values here at Seek and what Juice Break really stands for. So you can find Sydney on Instagram at Sydney R. Burger and through WeleraWorld.com if you want to get on her wait list for one-on-ones, or if you're a brand and you want to host a corporate retreat, go hit her up. Keep up with her events, classes, retreats, all things her on her Instagram. And if you love this episode, share it with a friend. And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
See you next time.
Juice
Stay
break.
juicy.
So good.
Woo. Okay, yay.